When it comes to your employee benefits, you may ask yourself these questions. What are my benefits? How do they work? How do they affect me and my family? Healthcare benefits can be a challenge to understand, so let's start with some basic terms and what they mean for you. For each plan, there is an associated cost. The amount you pay monthly, often directly deducted from your pay, is called the premium. What you might not realize is your employer also contributes to the cost of the premium to offset this cost for you. As an employee, your contribution, or the portion of the total healthcare premium, may be $400 a month for a family plan, but the total cost of that plan might actually be $800 per month. Your employer is responsible for paying the difference. Just like employees have had to pay more towards their premium each year, employers' contributions to these premiums have increased as well, leaving little to no room for pay increases. So what can be done about this problem? Well, in order to come up with a solution, we first need to ask the question, why are costs rising in the first place? Out-of-control healthcare costs are largely driven by insurance carriers and hospital systems. Healthcare costs are routinely inflated. Ever looked at a hospital bill and seen a $40 Tylenol? How about a $25 Band-Aid? These are just a few of the least expensive examples of the gross billing practices carried out by the healthcare industry. What about a knee replacement that costs $4,300 but is billed at $118,000? That's more than a 2,700% markup. These inflated charges directly affect the price of your healthcare premiums. Many employers utilize health plans with a preferred provider organization, or a PPO network. Even if you are not enrolled on a plan with a PPO network, it's important to understand the role PPO networks play in the rising costs of healthcare for all. A PPO is a type of health plan that contracts with hospitals and doctors to create a network of participating providers who have agreed upon pricing for healthcare services. Within the PPO network, providers charge wildly different rates for their services. For example, one provider may charge $100 for an abdominal ultrasound, and the other may charge $800. The PPO network looks at both of these providers as being equal and includes both providers in their network, even though the cost difference between these two providers is 800%. The cost difference often goes unnoticed by plan members who are only responsible for a copay or a percentage of the total charges. However, the full financial impact remains for the overall health plan. Let's look at an example of how a PPO network works. You injure your knee on a ski trip, or if you're like me, you probably tripped over the coffee table. You visit an in-network specialist within the hospital system who orders an MRI from their facility. The provider charges $5,000. This provider and the network agreed to a 30% discount off billed charges for accessing the service at an in-network facility. So the new discounted cost is $3,500. What a deal! But what if instead you chose a provider at an independent imaging center? Their price is $1,000. With a 30% discount, the cost is $750. The PPO network does not always guarantee the best deal. The cost you pay for healthcare directly affects your premiums. Choosing providers who charge reasonable prices not only saves you and your employer money on your healthcare premiums, but also saves you on your financial responsibility for things such as deductibles, copays, and coinsurance. So if networks don't guarantee the best deal, then what will? Cash is still king. If you find high-quality providers at reasonable prices, you don't need a network discount. Remember, the price you agree to pay for your healthcare services drives the cost of your health plan. On a self-funded health plan, you and your employer have the ability to take control of the spending, utilizing free market principles that reduce spending tremendously. The secret to paying less for healthcare is to pay less for healthcare, and you have the power to do just that. So how do we put this into action? Let's learn a few more of the terms that you will need to understand to take control of your healthcare and make your benefits work for you. First, the deductible. This is the amount of covered expenses that must be paid by the individual before other benefits become payable by the health plan. Here's an example of what a deductible could be. A health plan may set a deductible at $5,000 for a plan year. The deductible must be paid before your health plan will begin paying. You hurt your knee again on the coffee table, but this time it requires surgery to fix the problem. The surgery costs $30,000. If you have a deductible of $5,000, then you will be responsible for the first $5,000 before the health plan will begin paying. The deductible is for the entire plan year. So, for instance, if you've paid your entire deductible on that knee surgery and another major expense arises within that same plan year, since you've already paid your deductible, the plan benefits will apply automatically, which leads directly into our next benefit term, coinsurance. Coinsurance is the percentage of cost that is shared between the health plan and the plan participant. So in our example, you've paid the $5,000 deductible, but you need another medical procedure this year. Let's say the coinsurance is set at 80-20. The plan pays 80% of the bill and you pay 20% of the bill. This means that after you've paid your deductible of $5,000, other costs will be covered by the plan at 80% and you will be responsible for the other 20%. Coinsurance amounts vary from plan to plan, so be sure to talk to your care advocate about your plan specifics. Your plan establishes a maximum out-of-pocket cost. This is the total amount you are responsible for in a given plan year. Once an individual reaches the maximum out-of-pocket, the health plan pays all eligible covered expenses at 100% for the remainder of the plan year. To understand what specific costs contribute towards your plan maximum out-of-pocket costs, you can speak to a care advocate. Just a reminder, having to pay a deductible, coinsurance, or copay does not mean that a procedure or service isn't covered by your plan. It just means that part of the service is your responsibility. Understanding your financial responsibility and the responsibility of your plan is paramount. Patients who are educated, engaged, and empowered are effective at making the best healthcare decisions for themselves and their dependents. When you choose providers who charge less for healthcare, you pay less on your premiums, deductibles, copays, and coinsurance. Remember, if you ever have any questions about your health plan, you can reach out to the Kempton Care Advocate Team at 800-324-9396. We are here to help you put your benefits to work.